Welcome to this sports special. Today we're going to be focusing in on Roc Nation Sport International. In 2023 they celebrate 10 years and they've been in South Africa since November 2019. Joining me is the president of the organisation, Michael Yormark. A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Good to have you in our company. And I'd like to know, after 4 years of being in the country, has Operation South Africa been a success?
It's been a huge success. First of all, this is my 47th trip to South Africa, so I spent a lot of time here since November of 2019. And, you know, our relationship in the sports space here in South Africa really started after the World Cup in 2019 when Siya Kolisi joined our family. And the way that we've expanded and the way that we've built scale over the last 4 years has been amazing. It's been a special opportunity for our company, not just our international division, but all of Roc Nation. And so, yes, it's been extraordinarily successful. And
I understand that there's an even bigger vision for South Africa over the next 5 years.
There is. I mean, we're taking it one step at a time. You know, we've only been here for 4 years. And so I think it's important for us, you know, as an international company, to really understand what the needs are, whether it's sports or entertainment here in South Africa. You know, currently we're representing athletes within the country, and we're also doing consulting work for sports properties, whether it be clubs or teams or venues. And I think the opportunity for us to expand that over the next 5 years is terrific. We've looked at South Africa and we've identified South Africa as an expansion market for us. We're going to double down. We're going to invest more resources. We're going to expand our staff. We're going to sign more clients. We see this as a big opportunity for us, and an opportunity, quite frankly, that we're very passionate about. You know, when you get to my point in my career, you do things because of your passion. You do things because you really want to create impact and you want to help. And when you think about South Africa and you think about the incredible stories that you have in your country, that's what's inspiring and motivating us to do more. We want to tell more stories. We want to create more opportunities for the clients that we work with. And so the next 5 years should be very bullish for us.
South Africa is a beautiful but complicated place in all its diversity, not only in the makeup of the demographics of our country, but also in the variety of social ills that currently plague South Africa. How do you, as an international organization, view that? Do you keep on mentioning opportunity and the fact that this is an expansion market? You see a lot of hope here in South Africa. What gives you that kind of optimism?
The people. You know, when I arrived in South Africa for the very first time in November of 2019, one of the things that I noticed immediately was the spirit, the courage, and the resiliency of the people here in South Africa. It was absolutely amazing. And for me personally, it was very inspiring and motivating. And so as we think about the opportunities here, that's what's driving us. Yes, there's lots of challenges, and we know what those challenges are. But we're also attracted to these stories, these incredible stories that exist within your country. The sportsmen and women that are overcoming those challenges and are, you know, rising to the top of their trade. You think about Siya Kolisi, you think about Cheslin Kolbe, you think about Bongi, the captain of your netball team. You think about their journeys and the challenges that they had to overcome to get to where they are today. It's inspiring. And so we want to do more. And so despite the challenges that people see in your country, in South Africa, we see opportunity. We see hope. We're inspired and we're motivated, and we want to do more.
Can you explain to us how Roc Nation Sport International works alongside athletes? You know, we see Siya Kolisi as a major global brand, along with Cheslin Kolbe. Obviously, their value just as sports people has gone up immeasurably, or maybe you can give us a figure on just how much, what that quantity actually is following a second Rugby World Cup. But you're also, as you mentioned, working alongside other entities. I know there was, at one time, working with Cricket South Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns. So can you just explain to us what that is, what that partnership and what that is with working with those entities?
Sure. So let's divide the two. Let's first talk about athlete representation, and then we can talk a little bit about consulting and the relationships that we have with, as an example, the Sundowns. When we think about relationships with athletes, and quite frankly, this started in America with artists, we think about a 360 relationship. How do we support that athlete or the artist so that they can focus on one thing, being the best athlete or being the best artist they can? So we're focused on helping them on field, right? So we'll do all of their contracts as it relates to their playing contracts. But as importantly, and actually more importantly, we're focused also on off the field. And how do we build their brand? How do we make them relevant? How do we create meaningful opportunities for them? How do we tell their story? Those are the things that we're focused on each and every day. And finally, as it relates to our representation of athletes, we also focus on post-career. You know, one of the things that I noticed here in South Africa when I got here is that so many of the athletes were just in the moment. They were focused on what they were doing today, not what may come 10 years or 15 years down the road.
What inevitably will come.
That's right. And so how do you prepare for that moment? How do you prepare mentally? How do you prepare financially? How do you make sure that ultimately when you retire from being an athlete, that you can choose what to do, not what you have to do to support your family? And so that's a big part of what we do in terms of supporting our athletes here in South Africa. As it relates to our consulting partners, and you mentioned the Sundowns, you know, that club is just an enormous priority for us, and a big shout out to them for winning the African League final on Sunday. I was there with my colleagues, and it was a magnificent event. Our relationship with them was based on how do you take that brand and that story and elevate it and amplify it globally. So we know the Sundowns have a great story here, great history in South Africa. But that story also needed to be told globally. And so that was the start of our relationship. We also help them in other areas, you know, of their business, from content to commercial partnerships to social digital. But the true core of that relationship is revolved around telling their story to a global audience.
What happened with cricket? What happened with Timber and what happened with Lungi?
You know, I think in every relationship, there's an evolution and there's a cycle. You know, they started with Roc Nation, and we were blessed and honored to have them as part of our family. But sometimes an athlete or an organization decides to go in a different direction. And in the case of Lungi and Temba, they opted to go in a different direction, which we respected. And we also encourage independency. So in the cases of both of those incredible human beings, they came to us and said, hey, you know what? We've had a great experience. We want to start a new chapter. And we're going to start that chapter, you know, without Roc Nation. And we'll always be there to help them, to support them, to encourage them, to mentor them in any way that they would like us to. But, you know, sometimes clients decide to move on. And that's okay, as long as they're moving on to a greener pasture.
And do you believe they have?
I do. You know, listen, we still follow them. We're still big fans of theirs. We want them to be successful in everything that they do. And who's to say that one day they may not come back to Roc Nation? You never know. But again, we're proud of them. We're fans of theirs. And we only want them to have great success.
When I look at the sports that you guys have really kind of gotten involved in a major way in South Africa, obviously because of the entry point being Siya Kolisi, you really have expanded in rugby. Is there another reason why rugby makes sense for you as Roc Nation, and specifically the stories that you want to be able to tell to a global audience? Is it the fact that South Africa are world champions and global leaders in the sport that makes it a lot easier to pick people from that sport?
You know, it's interesting. It's a great question. You know, when we first came into South Africa and we started working with Siya, the goal wasn't just to represent rugby players. You know, we also represent Bongi, who's your netball captain, and we've represented, you know, cricketers here in your country as well. I think for us, we're really attracted to great stories and great people. Now, it just so happens that when you look at our roster, it skews towards rugby. And the reason for that is probably because of the significance of rugby in your country. I mean, when you think about sports and impact, the Springboks and the sport of rugby is without a doubt, the king of South Africa. And so the introductions that SIA has made to us, the opportunities to get in front of other rugby players, have been there. And it just so happened that their stories were absolutely amazing. And so we've taken advantage of that. But we're very open to representing, men and women, regardless of what their sport is. If we find a great story in tennis or in golf or in cricket, no matter what the sport is, those opportunities are ones that we would love to take advantage of.